Let's take a look at asset disposal. Disposal of plant assets can occur in one of three basic ways: discarding, sale, or exchange. As the accountants, we have some steps that we're going to need to take when we dispose of an asset. First, we record depreciation up to the date of the disposal. This will also update our accumulated depreciation. Second, we record the removal of the disposed assets account balance, including accumulated depreciation. Third, we record any cash and/or other assets received or paid in the disposal. And fourth, we record any gain or loss equal to the value of any assets received minus the disposed assets book value. So an important thing that we'll need to take into account is whether it is a gain or a loss. So a big thing to take into consideration when you're determining if there is a gain or loss is the book value of an asset. The book value of an asset is the cost of the asset minus accumulated depreciation. In other words, it's the net value of the asset on the balance sheet. So, if we receive cash that is greater than the book value of the asset, a gain will be associated with the disposal. If the cash received is less than the book value of the asset, so cost minus accumulated depreciation, a loss will be recorded. So let's look at some journal entries that we would need to do as the accountants. If we are discarding of a plant asset that was already fully depreciated and there was a zero book value, we will just debit accumulated depreciation for its total and credit the plant asset for its total. If we're discarding a plant asset that's not fully depreciated and the sale is at book value, we will debit depreciation expense to bring that up to date, as well as accumulated depreciation will be credited in that entry. The second entry, we will debit accumulated depreciation for the total and credit the plant asset. When we are discarding a plant asset where the asset is not fully depreciated and there's a loss on disposal, which means the sale was below the book value, we will first complete the depreciation expense entry with a debit and a credit to accumulated depreciation. Then we will debit accumulated depreciation for the total, debit a loss on disposal of the asset, and credit the plant asset. If we are discarding of a plant asset that's not fully depreciated and there's a gain on disposal, which means the sale is above book value, we will debit depreciation expense and credit accumulated depreciation to bring that depreciation up to date. We will then debit the total of accumulated depreciation, credit the gain on the disposal of the asset, and credit the plant asset. So now let's take a look at an example. A company owns a machine that costs $500 and has accumulated depreciation of $400. Prepare the entry to record the disposal of the machine on January 2nd in each scenario. First up, we have the disposal of a machine, receiving nothing in return. We will debit accumulated depreciation for the machine for $400. We will debit a loss on the disposal of the machine of $100, and we will credit the machine for $500. In the second scenario, the company sells the machine for $80 in cash. We will debit accumulated depreciation on the machine for $400, debit cash for $80, debit a loss on the sale of machine for $20, and credit the machine for $500. Company owns a machine that costs $500, has accumulated depreciation of $400. We have two more scenarios. The company sells the machine for $100 in cash. You will debit accumulated depreciation on the machine for $400 and debit cash for $100 and credit machine for $500. And if the company sells the machine for $110 in cash, you would debit accumulated depreciation on the machine for $400, debit the cash for the amount you received, $110, credit a gain on the sale of the machine for $10, and credit the machine for $500.